So I would like to just say that we are really happy that we are on the eve of the Global Climate Action Summit, which is in San Francisco, and I think the location of the summit is important for two reasons. Not only the fact that we're here in California, and California being an important political force in the fight against climate change, but also San Francisco being in proximity and more becoming the center of the Bay Area as the world's most important innovation system, which also shows that the summit puts itself, I think, intentionally next to where some of the most important technologies of this planet have been emerging over the last decades. And that coincides with our mission as Open Austria. We want to look at technology in a neutral way. We want to explore the potential, not only for our companies, for our startups, for our public administrations, but also for the many problems that we face as a society and as a planet. Clearly, many of us, and myself included, do not have a full grasp of the complicated technologies that come out of Silicon Valley and of the global innovation system. But what we do understand is that climate change is a reality, and that we have so far not been really able to tackle this problem. And so I think it is high time that we look at technology as a possible solution and as a possible remedy to tackle this problem. I would also like to say that we are a small country, but we are part of the European Union. In fact, since a few months we have the presidency of the European Union, and it is and Europe has a huge presence here also at the summit and is supporting it, and I'm very happy that we're going to hear later on about a climate kick initiative financed by the European Union. I want to thank our organizers of this event, Global Challenges, an initiative from Austria, and Miro will later talk, Glotcha, as well as the global, the Climate Chain Coalition. Also, I want to thank our supporter and sponsor, the Royal Bank of Canada. And I would like now to pass on to Mr. Masamba Thioye, who's a co-chair of the CCC and works also for the Climate Secretariat in Bonn, the UNFCCC. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Good afternoon, everybody. This is a pleasure for me to be here and interact with you on this very important issue. But my name is Masamba Thioye. I'm working for the UNFCCC Secretariat in Bonn, where I'm leading the Regulatory Development Unit and also a task force that is dealing with innovation. So, first thing, why the interest of the Secretariat for blockchain and this distributed ledger technology? You all know that sustainability and climate change are by far the biggest challenge faced by humanity. And if we want to address this challenge, we have to act on all the levels. We need to be able to mobilize all potential climate actors, organization, all type of organization, financial, corporate, policymakers. But we need also to go down at the level of individual citizens. If we really would like to win the battle of climate change, we should be able to mobilize at the individual level citizens and promote their climate action. This is one aspect. And the other aspect is the fact that all the possible levels need to be mobilized. One is finance. Definitely it is needed to address climate change. Another one is policy making. And then the third one is technology. We know that the currently available technology, their large deployment will not allow to achieve the long-term goal of the Paris Agreement. If we want to achieve the long-term goal of the Paris Agreement and build the sustainable future we envision, we need to be able to come up with new technologies that are disruptive, new technologies that can address the scale and the deepness of the challenges that we are facing. So the need to mobilize technology to benefit people, and the fact that we want to go down to the level of individual citizens to promote climate action, these are the two main drivers of the interest of the University Policy Secretariat for this innovative technology. So in this presentation, I would like to share very quickly the state of thinking within the University Policy Secretariat and what is it that we have started with. So first of all, we as an organization, the first question that we had to respond to was, is it really relevant to what we are doing? It was the very first question. Yeah, this is a new technology. There is a lot of hype around it, but probably also there is a lot of potentiality. We wanted to know whether blockchain can really serve climate action. And we say we need to dig a little bit deep and understand what is it that makes blockchain what it is. What are the core functionality of blockchain that differentiate this new technology from the other technology? And we come here with some characteristics that for us, and I think this is, we are welcoming the input from the public, because probably there are many blockchain experts among you. It would be good to have your perspective. So we try to identify really the core attribute. And because we realized that there was a big confusion between the core attribute and some kind of secondary functionality that are derived from this core attribute. To be able to understand the full potential of blockchain, it was important for us to have more clarity on that aspect. So we identified some example of core attribute, and then this is what I call the secondary functionality that are enabled by the core attribute. And finally, in front of that, some specific type of issue that we are trying to address when we are dealing with climate action. So the idea here was to build a kind of relation between the functionality of blockchain and the type of issue that we are facing when we are conducting climate action. For example, here you will see on the attribute distributed, decentralized, central administrator free, and only mutable, cryptographically consensus-based, audience control, and so and so. And then secondary functionality, resistance to failure, immutability, and resistance to mistrust. And here in front, some type of problem like double counting, issue of transparency that we are facing in climate action. And then the next question, with this, what we intend to do is to build a tool that will allow us, if we have a specific issue we want to address, to be able to put it in that format. What are the core problems that we are trying to address, and then identify the functionality of blockchain that we need. And then the next question was also to have a little bit more clarity about what is blockchain, what is DLT, what is not DLT, And here again, we come up with some interesting reflection. I would like to have your feedback on. Maybe I will jump straight to the conclusion. If you look at all the articles that are produced around DLT and blockchain, it seems that what people call DLT or blockchain changed a lot from one expert to another. And we were wondering at the end whether what people call blockchain and DLT is not a kind of mindset. The mindset is just an approach that allows to redo what is his name, Nagamoto? Yeah, try to redo what actually he did. Because if you look at closely what he did not come up with a new technology. All the technologies that are used were available. The only thing he did is to integrate in a very wise manner existing technology and apply them to a specific problem that he wanted to address. So to what extent many of these things that are called DLT are not just integration of several digital technologies to address a specific purpose. So, and also we come up to the question of differentiation between DLT and DLT ecosystem. Because whenever we are talking about DLT, blockchain, we talk about smart contracts, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and other types of technology that need to be integrated with DLT to mobilize its full potential. So we came to the conclusion that, in fact, what we are calling DLT is more a kind of ecosystem of digital technology that includes DLT. Now, with a better understanding of what is it that we are calling DLT and what is it that we can do with this innovative technology, we decided to run 4 main projects. Here I have 3. I will also present recently the first one. As I mentioned earlier, the first project is to develop a decision tree under which condition this innovative technology or their combination is useful. And if they are useful, what is the most relevant type of combination that will address the issues that we want to address. And here we want to have an automated tool with a standardized approach of uploading some key issue and then expecting the tool to deliver the result. So, as I have mentioned previously, one of the most important applications that is of interest for us is to be able to measure the contribution to the long-term goal of the Paris Agreement of individual citizens. Because if you want to incentivize, you need to measure. And so far, there is no framework that allows to do such type of measurement. One could measure the contribution of an organization, but going down to the level of individual citizen is a big challenge. We think that this new disruptive technology can help address that type of challenge. So the first project that we want to run is a link to an already existing project that is named Greening the Blue. Greening the Blue is a UN project where all the UN organizations committed themselves to reduce their scope 1 and 2 emissions and even to go toward climate neutrality for their own emissions. Now, as I mentioned, the challenge of climate change is so big that we need to come up with also very strong response. Just reducing scope 1 and 2 emissions is not enough. So what we call scope 1 and 2 and 3, the difference is if, for example, I'm a bank and I reduce the emission of my of the building of my headquarters, I'm reducing my scope 1 emission. These are the emissions that are under my control, the emissions that are within the boundary of my organization. But if as a bank, I request my client to conduct climate action and reduce their emission, then I'm reducing scope 3 emissions. So I'm using my power of influence to make others reduce their emission. So this type of framework also, so far we did not have a system, a framework that allowed to measure such type of contribution. If I'm a financier, let's say an investor, and I request my investing organization, the company I possess, to reduce their emission, and I use engagement, whatever influence I have, to make them reduce their emission. This type of contribution, we do not have currently a system that allows to measure that. This is because there are causality problems between the action and the impact. Because the one who made the action and where it is made, this is not where the emission reduction, the impact actually is happening. So it raised a lot of challenge that hopefully distributed electrical technology will help address. So once we have decided and said, okay, let's promote scope 3 type of climate contribution, where an organization is requested to use, influence, and make another organization conduct climate action. Once we have decided that we wanted to run that, we come to the conclusion that before asking others to do it, because we are asking now financial, bank, customer to conduct scope 3 climate contribution, influencing others to reduce emission. We said we as a UN, we are also a customer. We are also to some extent finance, because we have also a pension fund. Why don't we start by walking the talk and apply this thing to us? So we took the Greening the Blue project and we broadened the scope, saying now, we want UN organization not only to reduce the emission of their buildings, the emission of their travel, but we want them also to use green procurement. When they are buying something, they need to ensure that the seller is producing climate contribution. When we are shipping something, we want to be sure that the shipper, at least for the goods that we are shipping, will use biofuel. When we are buying energy, we would like to be sure that the electricity that we are buying is coming from a renewable energy plant. And now all these things that were not possible to track and establish with the new disruptive technology, it is possible. So the first project is this Greening the Blue project, where we will add this dimension of scope 3 climate contributions, and we would like to do the DLT to help us address the challenge that we are facing. The second issue that on which we are working, and here we have a consortium of different organizations. This is the use of DLT and smart contract in forest and wood value chain for climate impact-based compensation mechanism in the sustainable wood-based construction sector. Here also the approach is completely new and completely different from what we know currently. The framework under the UNFCCC is able to incentivize a producer, one single producer. I'm an electricity company. I install a wind farm this is possible to measure the impact of my climate action and incentivize my action. But now if you take a supply chain that starts from the forest owner down to the consumer of the wood that is using it for construction, trying to identify the contribution of the different people that are in the chain and incentivize their action is much more complex. Because you can have situations where, for example, one specific part of the chain is emitting a lot of emission, but is producing goods that allow to reduce emission at the next step. So if you take a circularity economy approach, that product will impact downward the level of emission. So it means that you have to have a holistic analysis of the chain and then look at the contribution of each part of the chain and put in place an incentive system that allows all the different actors to do what they have to do for the level of emission to be minimized. So this is what we are trying to do here. And then the third one is a project related to the financial sector. This is really focusing on how do we green the financial sector, how do we measure the contribution of asset or portfolio, financial asset or portfolio owner when they are doing corporate engagement. If an investor that is owner of a company engage with the company and try to make them reduce their emission, how do we measure the impact? How do we attribute? Now here the challenge also is when corporate reduce their emission, generally there is a lot of possible factors. It could be that R&D, research and development was done, and then the cost of the technology go down, and this is what motivated the action. It could be that a customer make influence. It could be that the policymaker put in place a new rule and regulation. It could be also that the financial conduct action. So how do we disentangle all these different influence and be able to attribute climate contribution to all these different factors and then incentivize is also a big issue. We expect DLT will help solve. So as you see, there are a lot of very important type of application that will just change completely the way we were doing things. So we have a lot of hope that this new innovative technology will help reshape the way we are conducting climate action, the way we are measuring the impact of climate action, and the way we are incentivizing also climate action, particularly to be able to get down to the level of individual citizens, measure their contribution and be able to incentivize them. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Masamba, for sharing the insights into the UNFCCC's thinking on the various dimensions of blockchain and distributed ledger technology and allied technologies. My name is Tom Baumann. I'm co-chair of the Climate Change Coalition along with Masamba. And I just need to switch over presentations quickly. Yeah, functional. And so it was about 18 months ago, I started 2 blockchain projects. One was a report for the World Bank on blockchain and related digital innovations for climate markets. And a couple of my colleagues were co-authors, I can see in the room from Expansive. And another project with the Blockchain Research Institute that Don Tapscott and about 70 other researchers in all different sectors come together. So agriculture, retail, stock markets, finance, you name it, looking at the various applications of blockchain, which are almost countless. And so in the case of the World Bank and climate markets, going beyond carbon credits and emissions trading, looking at ITMOs and all of the new climate governance innovation that's emerging under the Paris Agreement, and particularly at the non-state actor or non-party stakeholder level, and seeing that complexity start to emerge and what kind of solutions are going to be able to help us do the implementation of the Paris Agreement more cost effectively, to be able to scale it, be able to mobilize the finance. And so part of the World Bank report was not only to outline the emerging digital technology architecture and how that could be applied to not just carbon markets, but other existing markets, commodity markets, capital markets, and so on. But how do you actually operationalize such a new way of looking at how this technology could innovate carbon markets? One of the recommendations was establish essentially an industry association or a global entity to bring together all of the stakeholders that are going to be participating in creating the new governance frameworks to support how this technology is implemented into carbon policies. In my work with the Blockchain Research Institute, did a large landscape market research report on the various types of initiatives and existing organizations. Had they done an ICO, initial coin offering, or a token sale? How were they financing themselves? Did they have a white paper? Did they have an ecosystem of partners? Which technology were they using? IBM and Hyperledger? Or were they using Consensus and Ethereum and so on? How was that shaping up? And what kind of applications, not just in climate, but in sustainability broadly speaking? And you can see it was just a kaleidoscope of initiatives, which is great. Innovation, experimentation, move quickly, fail often, let's try and get some innovations to market. But we know it's not so simple. And so at the end of the last UN climate conference, COP23, I had just done a blockchain event, and I had a chance to meet with Masamba, and Masamba comes up with the idea of the Coalition for the Paris Agreement. We had our founding meeting. We had 12 organizations. We put together a charter of shared values and principles, where, I'll go into that in a little bit of detail, we would start to coalesce and define what this new organization could do together. And this is our second meeting. And so I'll be giving a bit of a progress update. Who are we? What are we doing? And after my presentation, be happy to hand it over to various members of the coalition to present on what they're actually doing in their own work and with the coalition. So our mission is to, as the coalition, is to support the collaboration of the members and their stakeholders so that they can advance blockchain and the related digital technologies in helping to attract and mobilize the trillions of dollars of climate finance that will be necessary to implement the climate actions and achieve the Paris Agreement. So we're very much aligned with trying to achieve the Paris Agreement. But we're so much more than simply the Paris Agreement as being grassroots, looking at Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure and all of the changes that are happening in the financial sector as an example. And so very quickly here, I know we started quite late, so I apologize, but I'm going to try and move quickly so that you can hear from the various coalition members, which I hope will help stimulate some of the networking that follows on the presentations, hopefully pretty soon. So just touch on a few of them. We're technology neutral. We are trying to put in place safeguards that will prevent or mitigate fraud from happening. I think most of us realize that blockchain and Bitcoin came from a bit of a shady genesis, or was used by shady sectors. And so some people are already a little bit tainted by that history. And so we want to provide some confidence to stakeholders that, in fact, there is a broad global initiative that's coming together that wants to hit head-on that issue to ensure that there are the credibility and safeguards being developed for blockchain applications that are coming to market. And although we're focused on climate, we very much want to be synergistic with SDGs more broadly speaking. It's not our focus going beyond climate, but we do realize that that's a potential starting point for others that are working in the sustainability space. And so within the coalition, which is this huge, hugely diverse group of organizations, we have a lot of startups. They've got a lot of funds. They've got some short-term priorities. We have others that are universities, research institutes, governments, nonprofits, and others who move at a different pace, not to mention the UN, and that have a different set of objectives. But we know that as the coalition, it makes sense to start now in the long process of putting in place the shared infrastructure that would support the various applications and initiatives rolling out. And because that's very human-centric and it moves slower than technology innovation in small groups, now's a good time to get started so that it'll be ready when the technology matures in a few years. So it's a challenge to balance those two things, but that's what we're aiming to accomplish within the coalition. Our activities, so we do, like now, events, networking, facilitating partnering amongst the various members and outside, supporting knowledge research. In fact, World Bank is now engaging this week, the coalition, on a new knowledge piece, and I can see some authors in the audience who will be working on that. But then also to support members in defining and performing pilot projects and use cases which help demonstrate proof of concept of the technology in a variety of sectors. And then again, working on taxonomies and standards and frameworks that will be a shared resource across the different applications, which at some point, as I'm sure you can imagine, when you apply blockchain to supply chains, or emissions trading, or MRV of climate finance, and so on, all of these applications need to be interoperable, play nice together. And so that's where, as a coalition of different entities, we can define that successfully together. So we're 9 months old. This is our second meeting. Our first real meeting, other than the founding one, was at the Innovate for Climate Conference hosted by the World Bank back in May, which is about 100 days ago. And so we're adding members, 3 or 4 members a week. Today we added another 3 or 4 members at least, and I think this week we'll add quite a few more, which is not a surprise given the outreach and profile that we've been doing, and just the opportunity of the summit that it brings, bringing everybody together. Membership activity in terms of knowledge sharing and connecting, we see that that's rapidly growing as well, which is great. We're starting to see takeoff of the organization and how members are getting real outputs from joining up. Our first sponsor, the Royal Bank of Canada, as Martin had acknowledged at the beginning of this event. And the last point there that I think is very important, which was Musaba's presentation related to how the UNFCCC and the coalition represents a good, I don't want to say first move, but early move that can be beneficial to other initiatives within the UN system. So because we have such diverse membership, and because climate actions are also equally diverse, members are self-organizing themselves according to their priorities, whether that's capacity building or research, or if it's issue-specific like mitigation, adaptation, finance, or whether that's regional. And so you'll hear from some members in the audience that are here who've recently formed a team in Latin America, which is cross-cutting. They have several countries that are involved, so it's great that the coalition is a means with which to help them achieve those goals. And then there's other ones here as well. And so each of these teams, what they're aiming to do together varies very differently across the different teams and the members that are participating, but in essence, they're scoping out what are the priorities, they're ground truthing across the diverse number of members. What are those priorities, how do they get there, so that when we do, as we are here this week, do outreach and resource mobilization, whether that's financial or otherwise, those stakeholders understand our mapping exercise or planning exercise so that they can interact with the coalition members more directly and directly and quickly. So last slide, what's the outlook for the coalition? I mentioned when I did a report for the Blockchain Research Institute about 18 months ago, there might have been around 40 or 50 organizations and initiatives. Some of them were alliances and networks for sustainability or climate. By the end of 2017, there was probably 100 or so. I saw a recent report that in January of this year it was just over 100. And now it's already around 200 organizations and initiatives that are working on blockchain, climate, and sustainability. The coalition, I think, just passed 125, 30 organizations, so it's really become well known across all of those initiatives, which is great. We're going to see hundreds more, particularly next year as we see progress made, whether that's more proofs of concept or demonstrating benefits that the technology can bring. But there is clearly, by the number of organizations joining the coalition, an interest to work together on the common issues that any initiative on its own can't do effectively, or perhaps legitimately. So it's good to see that the coalition is actually making as quick a progress as it is, even though we're 9 months old. This is our second meeting, so I think over the next 100 days to the end of 2019, we're hoping to achieve some of our resource targets financially in order to grow the coalition so that it can do more of these events and also support the priorities and activities that the members are going to be identified and that need resources as well. And so it's an open global initiative. Intentionally, there's no membership fee because we want to encourage large and small to interact from all different sectors. And so you're welcome to go to our website, look at our resources. It's pretty quick and easy if you'd like to join. We've got a variety of tools that we use to help get people interacting quickly. Thank you very much. With that, I'd like to invite up Marion Burrows from the Gold Standard Foundation.
Thank you, Tom, and thanks for taking such a leadership role in putting us together and leading the coalition forward. It's a lot of work, so thanks for doing it. Hi everyone, apologies if you saw my presentation earlier this afternoon. I tried to do it a little bit differently so that if you already saw it, it will feel like it's different. And if you haven't seen it already, hopefully it will be helpful. So my name is Marion Verle, I'm the CEO of the Gold Standard Foundation. We're a standard and certification body created over 15 years ago by a number of civil society organizations, including WWF, to bring more credibility and transparency to the carbon markets. Since then, we've evolved a little bit our model, and we're focusing really on the credible quantification of impacts across a range of interventions. So carbon markets and climate finance remains a very important area of work, but we're now able to quantify and certify impacts across the 17 SDGs, and we released last year our new standard, Gold Standard for the Global Goals, that make this possible. So today I'd like to talk a little bit about the work we're doing on DLT and why this is an important topic for us. So we've joined the Climate Ledger Initiative about 2 years ago, which was initially founded by Nick Beglinger from Cleantech 21. Nick is the hackathon person, so he organized the first climate hackathon at the last COP in Bonn. The Climate Ledger Initiative is supported by Climate Kick, and you'll hear from Climate Kick after my presentation. It's a public-private initiative that seeks to bridge the gap between the climate and the DLT communities by providing research, use cases, and awareness-raising activities that will help the two communities get together, understand each other, and also help advance the objectives of the Paris Agreement. Our primary target audience really are policymakers, so we're talking a lot with the climate negotiators, the people that do the COP every year, that are negotiating in the rooms every year and trying to make them understand the potential that the technology can offer to accelerate the implementation of the Paris Agreement. So one of our key sort of output that we're working on right now, and which will become a flagship report, is the Navigating Blockchain for Climate Action report. It's a 3-part report that really looks at the nexus of climate and DLT and seeks to provide recommendations and guidance for policymakers. So the first part is really on the Paris Agreement itself. So if you're not a climate negotiation nerd, it's not going to be too specific to you, but the negotiations are super specific. We're talking about over 20 articles, quite a number of requirements for parties, and the Paris Agreement is specific in the sense that it's a bottom-up agreement. So parties committed not to a certain target, they committed to their own target, and then to a transparency process, and a process whereby ambition would be raised over time. And so DLT can help that, can help bring the transparency, can help bring MRV costs down, and can help create trust in the system while making it more reliable. The second part will really be on climate action outside the Paris Agreement, so everything that can be done by citizens, and Masamba was talking about the potential that DLT can have in unlocking climate action at sort of people's level. So we're looking at that, especially in the context of crowdfunding, distributed energy systems, and also corporate climate and sustainability targets. So how can DLT be a force to drive more ambitions at corporate level, but also help finance and spread energy systems? And the last part is really what we're calling good blockchain. What are good practices, and what should become a new sort of industry benchmark for developing those systems. That report is an active collaboration with the Climate Change Coalition. Quite a number of chapters in the report are authored by people that are coalition members. The report is going to be reviewed by a number of coalition members, so it's really a collective effort, and I'm really grateful to everyone that has contributed to it and helped us put it together. We release it at COP, and at the same time, with Climate Kicks support and expertise. We'll organize a workshop at COP to start disseminating some of the key findings and stimulate discussions within the Climate Change Coalition Network, the Climate Kick Network, on how to move forward from here. So that's a brief overview on one of the flagship sort of piece of work that we're working on. The other piece of work that I wanted to share with you is the work that Gold Standard is doing on digitizing MRV. And for us, it's a very important piece of work because we believe that technology offers huge opportunities. I mean, we can make the real-time traceability of goods a reality. We can paint the sustainability profile of an agricultural commodity. We can do huge sort of new things with DLT, Internet of Things, and all those new technologies, but it also comes with challenges. And the three challenges that we have identified are really, how can you trust the data that's coming in? How can you trust the data that's coming out? And how can you trust the system between the data that's coming in and the data that's coming out? And that's where standards can really play an important role. And if we believe that the technology is not going to make us irrelevant, we think that we need to fundamentally change the way we operate to fully deliver the value that we can deliver. And that means changing the way we act and work as a standards body. And a key piece of work that we're focusing our efforts on is what we're calling our Digitizing MRV program. And we really want to move from a linear, paper-based process where we check that the data that's coming in is compliant with our requirements, that the processes to transform that data are in line with our requirements, and that the output is in line with our requirements. So it's a very linear, sort of paper-based, human-intensive process to a digital, real-time process that would be really, really cost-efficient and add a lot of value. So we're looking at sort of Internet of Things to capture data and give us a sense of the quality of that data. We're looking at coding methodologies to automate the transformation process. We're looking at artificial intelligence to identify where outliers would be and where we would need to send actually someone to the field to verify that that farm is really in compliance. So rather than do it for every farm every year, we could do it for one farm out of hundreds or thousands of farms, because that one is an outlier. So we could make the human intervention much more efficient and targeted and therefore reduce cost. And the output would be compatible with what our users want. And that could be an output that's compatible with the corporate greenhouse gas reporting protocol that a corporate wants to use. It could be an output that's compliant with the CDM carbon credit market, with sort of clear rules on additionality. It could be an output that can be used by airlines under the airlines sort of trading schemes, meaning no double counting and so on and so forth. So we think that technology can really make our work more cost effective, but that it can also help us to take our credible sort of MRV process to scale. Obviously without scaling the cost, but only scaling the value it brings. One of the first pilots that our partners, South Pole and ICSO, have put forward and on which we're working with them is a renewable energy project. So we're going to basically do what I've just outlined in real life and take the normal certification process that's analog to a digital process and ideally a real-time process. So instead of issuing carbon credits once a year, it could be done literally every minute. Each time a megawatt hour is produced by the solar PV plant, a carbon credit could be issued. And transaction costs would be a fraction of what they are right now. So that's the sort of the future we see. And we'll be working with all the CCC members that are interested in developing those practical hands-on sort of next generation MRV cases with us. And I know that Tom is a big supporter of the idea and one of the pioneers behind the digital MRV concept. So we're super excited of being a CCC member, and we look forward to working with all of those members in the future on those issues. Thanks.
wish we had more time, or that everybody would have arrived on time, so that we can have more time for questions for Mary and others. I know you have to run.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
but Tom has my details if you want to get in touch when you have some.
Thanks again. I'd like to invite up to the stage now Neil Walmsley of Climate Kick.
Great. Thanks, Tom. So I'm Neil Walmsley. I'm the International Programs and Business Development Manager for Climate Kick. Thanks very much to Marion for actually describing our work in this field far better than I could, because I'm not a distributed ledger technology expert whatsoever, so my apologies. So I will focus on a much higher level and talk about what Climate Kick is and what our ambitions are in this field. And I'll also be very quick because I know there's a bar waiting for us. And that's the privilege of being the final speaker for the evening. So Climate Kick is an organisation that is focusing on building a climate innovation economy. We were set up about 7-8 years ago following the global financial crisis, when it became apparent that Europe was not the most dynamic or innovative of places for growing new businesses, not just in the field of climate change, but in many others as well. And we actually looked to Silicon Valley as the place where innovation was happening. And so the question was asked, how can we actually create that in Europe? And so Climate Kick was set up along with several others to try and emulate the approaches and the thinking and successes that were taking place over here. So I do feel a little bit like a tea salesman going to China at the moment. So yeah, I still have a lot to learn myself. But what we do is we work on behalf of the European Union to help build up communities of innovators across a number of different fields. And we've been focusing very much on trying to speed up the rate of innovation taking place in Europe to meet the need to decarbonise at a much faster rate than Europe is currently doing. What we've been focusing on, I absolutely hate this diagram because it's far too complicated, but what we try and focus on is bringing together all the different actors in the innovation ecosystem. So that includes businesses, includes research organisations, cities, and also the community amongst others. And we basically bring them together, hundreds of partners across Europe on an ongoing basis to develop new thinking, new projects, new ideas and technologies, focusing on key challenges where we can have the most impact and where there is a very strong opportunity to develop the economy. Oh, that hasn't come across properly, but this gives you an idea of the sort of scale of the work that we've been doing, the amounts of partners that we work with, over 300. We've leveraged about 2.5 billion in climate investment for these businesses and supported over 1,000 innovative startups. We also run quite a large education program working with universities and other institutions across Europe to build up the next generation of innovators and entrepreneurs in the climate space. This is an example of some of the different partners we work with. This slide is actually out of date. We've got about 50 to 60 more partners since the slide was produced. So
just getting started.
yeah, exactly. And now that we've just opened our first office in San Francisco, it's going to grow even larger. But as you can see, it's a real mix of large and small organisations across many different fields. And what we do is we bring them together on a regular basis to look at what the key challenges are in different fields, different areas, and work with them to develop whole new ideas, innovative new approaches, develop whole new business areas and help support them to grow. So this is our current geographical spread. We are a European Union organisation. We're funded by them. We get about 80 million a year to support innovation. The countries in dark blue are our core countries, but we also start to support more Eastern European and Asian countries as well through our regional innovation scheme. And blockchain and distributed ledger technology is really starting to take off there as a strong, appealing marketplace. So we're working with partners in Romania, Serbia, Belarus, Latvia and many other places to help them develop their thinking in this space and their comparative advantage. I won't really spend much time on this, but as you can see, these are our 4 main areas of focus: so sustainable cities, sustainable land use, production systems, and decision metrics for finance. And I think I might just skip over these in the interest of time, but this is our impact goals, where we focus our resources. And what we focus on as an organisation is end-to-end innovation. So we will support businesses and ideas right from the very earliest stages of a concept in the mind of a student or a young professional, through the different stages of growth, developing and growing a commercialised business, scaling up through large venture capital investments, and taking out to the marketplace. So working with national governments, cities to actually deploy these technologies and solutions at scale. And these are just a couple of examples of some of our more successful startups. This is actually an electric jet technology. I kind of wish we'd taken a larger stake in that. We gave them a grant of €100,000 and they've secured 87 million in investments. And we gave it as a grant rather than equity, so that was a bit of a foolish mistake on our part. But that's one of our more visually appealing examples. We support these sorts of technologies, everything from electric vehicles through to distributed ledger technology, to things like, so edible water bottles is a whole new area for us. Insects is basically food for cattle, produced by insects rather than, the natural and not very pleasant way in which animals are often fed in the food supply system. And actually, the winner of the UK venture competition last year, the national competition, was a packaging company that insulates boxes through chicken feathers, recycled from farms. And that says quite a lot about the UK as well. So yes, that was my quick presentation on who we are. Blockchain and distributed ledger technology is an exciting new area for us. We have been supporting many new ideas and startups developing their solutions in this space. And what we're starting to do is develop a whole new program area which is going to continue to grow this, draw on investment from our public and private sector partners, and develop a strategy working with the Climate Change Coalition, the Gold Standard Foundation, and many others to really build this up and have global impacts and scale. I will stop there because I'm going to get out of my depth quite quickly, but if you want to ask me anything about Climate Kick, I will be around for a bit more.
Thank you very much, Neil. I'm a big fan of Climate Kick, and I'm here in the near future. So we reached 7:30, and the next part of the agenda is that we welcome up several of the Climate Change Coalition members to give a 2 or 3 minute brief description of what they're doing so that the rest of the room understands some of the work that's happening, and hopefully that will stimulate some conversation over some stimulating beverages. So, yes, is that a coalition member?
Yeah. Stephen.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm hard on the time.
Sure. So thanks for having me here, and I've been a member for about 5 months now, and like everything that I've heard so far. What I'm working on is it's called the Natural Capital Alliance, and natural capital is a principle that puts value metrics on living ecosystems. It's been a study by about 25 years by the World Bank and the UN and many universities, and we're looking to put that on the blockchain. So, for instance, with our platform and our kind of projects and protocols, we'll be able to plant trees, that proof of action or proof of karma that you planted a tree. Then every year that tree's in the ground producing oxygen, sequestering carbon, creating biodiversity, purifying water, we'll be able to actually exchange that value from the planters and the contributors who planted the trees. And we have the scientists that have been working on this for 20 years on the team. We have Catherine Foster reach out to us to potentially run the Natural Capital Alliance within the division of the Climate Change Coalition, which sounds right up our alley. And we have kind of a global group working on it that's been working on these studies. We're looking to launch our first project in Madagascar around mangrove trees. Mangrove trees will be one of the first projects we tackle. The scientists have been doing the studies for 20 years. They've planted 5 billion trees to really hone in on the ecosystem services standards. We'll be using drone technology and RFIDs and biochips and satellites and a peer-to-peer rating system. We also have gamification, regenerative gaming ideas, so you can play a game about learning about planting a forest, like a SimCity. And by playing the game, all the ad money, all the rewards, all the data would actually go towards planting trees, which would kickstart your wallet for regenerative assets. We're looking at an impact exchange, similar to like Binance, but only for like impact SDG projects. And yeah, that's a little bit of what we've been doing. And we'll be at the UN General Assembly presenting these ideas. And also on Thursday and Friday, there's two different, it's about 4 hours each day around the National Capital Accounting Principles with the IXO Foundation. So that's me, and thank you.
Right on.
May I ask you to come up from West's Global Grid Mexico? And thank you for the interview.
Don't worry. Thank you very much for this event, Tom, and all the members here. My name is Moisés Rosado. I come from Mexico. We're working on distributed ledger to raise funds for infrastructure, focusing on renewable energy, solar, wind, and hydro. We started as a startup. We saw the many challenges of of a couple of months to raise capital, and we're shifting into an organization because we saw the need of the regulators in Latin America to know this technology. So we've been having audiences with the Mexican energy regulator, with the state utility, to tell the benefits of blockchain and explore the use cases regarding the green attributes, traceability. We have an auction market in Mexico, so there's a lot of competition. Also, there's a regulation coming in Mexico that is going to be a peer-to-peer enabler for distributed solar PV. So we're working very close with the Mexican authorities to push this agenda. If you're related to the Latin American market, please come and talk to me. We're trying to put a forum, a regional forum of Latin America, blockchain, sustainable and energy businesses or organizations. Hopefully we can put it by the end of the next year. Basically that's it. Thank you very much.
Could I invite someone from Nori to come up next? I'm just picking randomly since I recognize them.
Hi, my name is Paul Gamble. I'm the CEO, one of the co-founders of Nori, and we're building the market infrastructure to make it possible to reverse climate change by making it as simple as possible to pay for removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. We've been working on this for a little over a year. We have a team of about 10 people now. We are working on developing our first methodology for the carbon counting of removal. We're focused on soil carbon removal initially, so regenerative agriculture. We're putting together a peer review committee to help us solicit feedback from the scientific community about measuring that carbon removal. The way that our market works is we are creating and issuing what are called carbon removal certificates, each one representing a metric ton removed. And then we're creating our Nori token, where one token purchases one certificate. We're separating out these two different digital assets so that whatever the free-floating price of the Nori token is in the exchange markets can finally represent a truly market-driven price on carbon dioxide. So we're trying to really create that pricing signal. Going forward, we are still implementing our soil carbon methodology. We're beginning a pilot project very soon with a number of different farmers and ranchers, primarily in the United States initially. And we're looking to launch this marketplace in the beginning of next year. Thanks.
Joseph Allen, if I can invite you up from the Blockchain for Climate Foundation.
Thanks, Tom. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Palance, and I'm here with the Blockchain for Climate Foundation. When I fell down the crypto rabbit hole, I realized that the killer app for blockchain vis-a-vis climate is going all the way to the top and connecting national accounts under the Paris Agreement and putting that on the blockchain. I couldn't figure out how to do it for about the first year that I was engaged in this space because we needed to have something where we could have billions of tons of carbon emission reductions and mitigation outcomes and be able to ball those all into something totally fungible and then something totally distinct and discrete in each one. And so we figured it out. This is the short version, is that we figured it out how to do this on the Ethereum blockchain with ERC 998, which is the Crypto Composables tool on the Ethereum blockchain where you can have a non-fungible token hold and own other fungible and non-fungible tokens. Happy to chat and give some more detail on this later, but Matt Lockyer, who proposed the standard, is a part of our team in Vancouver, and so now we're working on building out the tech, building engagement with the national parties, because it fundamentally is federal governments that have sovereignty over their carbon impacts and over their commitments to the UNFCCC under the Paris Agreement. So working with them to help us build the user interface and user experience, and then also working to build out our funding reality and make sure that we can fund this in an appropriate way to develop what needs to get done. Great to hear about all of your work. We're looking forward to connecting later. Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt. I pause. Also, team lead on the mitigation task team. So if any of you folks here are on that team or interested in engaging on that as part of Climate Change Coalition, we would love to speak with you as well. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Joseph. And if I could invite Juan from ISA in Colombia, who leads the Coalition's Latin America team.
Thank you, Tom. I am Juan. I come from Colombia. I am representing ISA. ISA is a company like Transportation Energy Utility. It's the biggest one in Colombia, and the biggest one in Latin America. We have 32 companies in all Latin America, in Chile, Peru, Brazil, in other countries like Bolivia, Uruguay. Maybe it's a little bit fun, so I joined the company. I am no corporative member. I am developer of blockchain. The last year I was studying in Germany, developing a blockchain for my final project, my degree. And then I was like in Colombia looking to start a startup. And the company received like news that I was working in that. They were interested in me, and so they hired me to solve blockchain like a risk, and then started to understand that blockchain is an opportunity. You don't have to fight against blockchain. You can take blockchain like a tool. You can take blockchain to improve your process. And so we started to understand how blockchain can help this company. Then the strategy of the company in all Latin America is not only focused in energy. We have another companies like we have the highways in Chile. We have a program that is connection, have one connection is something to connected to South Pole, where we have a carbon credits. Then the strategy is beginning to be more concentrated that sustainability is not just like something additional to the business, sustainability is a business. And blockchain is something that can create something bigger in this field, because brings transparency, brings democracy, and now we are trying to develop in Colombia the world register for the emission of carbon, and we are trying, because we are focusing to do the market, the ETS for Colombia based in blockchain, bringing the potential of blockchain to this, and looking forward, we want to expand this in Latin America.
I believe I'd seen Amy Seidman. Amy, are you able to come on up and give a brief overview of the Global Noble Profit?
Sure, we see the graphics.
Yeah, so
Hi everybody, good to see you. Cheers.
Cheers.
So my name is Amy Seidman, I'm the founder of BeFlow. And our work is to help facilitate the reporting and validation of sustainability claims to create transparency and accountability around sustainable business and investment. And I'm really glad to be here and to be a member of the Climate Change Coalition and to be collaborating with so many amazing people. What we are also doing is creating a third-party validator network that will help facilitate the truth around this by engaging others aside from us to do those validation of the claims, the experts and the auditors and the certifiers. And it's really about creating a system and a tool set to make things easier and to help facilitate the access to this information. So I could go on, but if anybody wants any questions or asks me anything, we can do that. I understand I should do it in 3 minutes, so there you go.
I have a question. Why are you so happy here?
I'm happy because I'm done for the day.
No, in general.
In general, well, first of all, I'm following my passion, and thank you for seeing that. I'm not always so thrilled, but I think that we all have an opportunity to participate, and for me, the work that I'm doing is my life's work. And regardless of the support that we have externally, in tangible forms, I'm surrounded by brilliant people. I have an amazing team, and the people that I meet every day are incredibly inspiring. So today was a great day. I'm really happy because I got to meet and collaborate and begin alliances with many of the groups here. And I think that that's the solution that we need. I think we each need to connect the dots on the projects that we're working on so that we can strengthen each other. So, thank you.
We had a really good afternoon session, to Amy's point, I had a hard time pulling people back in the coffee break, and we're going to try and finish, and we couldn't finish on time. But in that spirit, I'll be quiet and invite our next speaker, Rosario from Switzerland, to present on his organization's work with blockchain.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening. My name is Rosario Piazzese. I'm the CEO of the consulting development strategies. It's a management consulting firm based in Zurich and Zug, and recently we opened an office also in Washington, D.C. We are focused mainly on all the topics related with the digital innovation, especially in the financial sector. And we developed a specialized line of business, and we are trying to propose to support also the Climate Change Coalition, focused on two main dominions. The first is a methodological one, focused on the model of governance of blockchain and DLT topics, and especially on creating a really well specialized taxonomy about blockchain and DLT and the logic of governance of the two different models. And the second one is a more IT-focused area, specialized on supply chain with a really well-focused platform on high valuable asset management on logistics and supply chain. And a second one based on Ethereum platform, focused on a pilot at the moment for supporting processes in the financial sector. I don't want to waste too much of your time. For any question, Thomas might take.
We have time for another one or two coalition members that I might not be picking out of the crowd. If you'd like to come up and give a brief overview of what you're doing for everyone who's here, in the interest of having some networking conversation over some drinks. And seeing that there's passes, I'll invite our last series of speakers up. Shall I hand the microphone to you, Miroslav?
Yes, please. So, hello everybody. Arnold and Ari, please join me on stage. This is the winning team that's going to present to you now. So, we are from the International Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges, and we are building the multi-stakeholder partnership GLOCCHA. And it's about really organizing multi-stakeholder climate action and also helping to organize the global climate governance system, that this kind of action will be more coherent, and we are trying to support the work of the Climate Change Coalition. We've had today in the afternoon already the presentation of our vision, which is to get really everybody engaged. As also Masamba said, this is one of the aims of this new era of climate action, to have non-state actors engaged. And we have there two flagship initiatives. One is to really mobilize, based on blockchain technology, the resources for a global climate action center. And on the other hand, also developing apps that will bring a global climate action agenda and incentivization mechanisms, gamification of climate action on the mobile devices of everybody. And we are delighted to have with us Unify Earth as a technology partner, and for information also a special area of our cooperation with the Climate Change Coalition is resource mobilization for blockchain technology infrastructure for non-state climate action. We have Give Youth a Chance climate philanthropy meeting on Friday this week at the Aquarium of the Bay, and Unify Earth is our sponsor there, and also helping us to connect with the philanthropic community of the Bay Area and beyond. And we will really try to help connect these wonderful projects of Climate Change Coalition members with the wealth holders of the world, and really making the connection between these high impact investment opportunities and the wealth out there. And in terms of getting a global climate action agenda on the mobile devices of everybody, I would like to inform you also about the concert that is going to take place on Thursday in 2 days in the evening at Grace Cathedral. It's also an affiliate event, also sponsored by Unify Earth. And you can have here some postcards with the details. Christina Stevens, our media expert, was so kind to bring them. They're fresh from the printing machine. And I give the word to Ari, our GLOCCHA Foundation president and partner of Unify Earth, to say a few words.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I want to really thank Samba, Tom, Miro, all the leaders here of the Climate Change Coalition. This is such inspiring and challenging work, and really encourage you all to join and stay involved with the organization, help it grow, and really allow the climate change, blockchain technology to reach its potential. I'm a civil society representative to the United Nations, activist impact investor in the blockchain space since 2013, and I'm currently a PhD student in political science future studies at the University of Hawaii. And just want to also really echo this give you the chance music concert for climate action concert at Grace Cathedral on Thursday night. We'll have taiko drums, harps, guitars, bass, sound meditation, gongs, incredible speakers like from the Polynesian Voyaging Society that just traveled over from Hawaii without even using a compass. Really incredible, inspiring speakers. It's a free event, benefit concert. We would love to have you all there and for your communities to be invited as well. I'd like to pass it over to Arnold with closing words representing Unify Earth, one of the most exciting blockchain technologies for climate action.
I have to with the dimension. I only wanted to say that it's we will present at the Grace Cathedral event also the next round of the Global Challenges Youth Music Contest. That's our way how we engage youth in contributing to creating a new vision of a better world with a climate-safe future. And there, one element will be blockchain-based voting on the best song. And that's one way how we will also bring to the attention of the youth the potentials of blockchain technology. Because if we would tell young people, this is wonderful technology, high potential, you should install it on your mobile device, they would say no. But if it's the condition to get to music, because young people love music, and for this I think we will also somehow incentivize a culture of blockchain adoption among the youth, also in all parts of the world. And here again we are working with Unify Earth, and therefore I'm happy to hand over to Arnold.
Hey, so until 2 months ago, we were like the three bearded musketeers, and I unfortunately shaved off my very white beard that was once we got into market. If only I could just get these guys to sort of come out a little bit and be more expressive, you know, so we could understand each other. I'm the communications director of Unify Earth Network. We call ourselves a blockchain 3.0. Our motto is humanizing the blockchain. We really believe that so long as we unite around the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, we figure that if 193 nations can get along on something, then that's a good thing. And so if you look at each of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, we really want to tackle each one of them, starting with number 1, which is no poverty, and number 17, which is